Greetings and welcome to episode 22 of the Weekly Review, the weekly podcast for words about games where we sit down and discuss the games that we've been playing. I'm your host, Amy K. Alexander, joined this week by YouTube's Mr. Dafford Moody.
I saw that. Yes, indeed. I'm Dafford.
Dafford Moody. It's closest I can get it.
The funny thing is, I bet I'll come up with my name right this time.
Imagine.
Ladies and gentlemen, just a big announcement. My team is the champions of pizza.
Pizza, yeah.
Pizza. If you know what I'm talking about, you will get that reference. But either way, how are you, Amy?
We can. Sure, there's a lot of crossover between lower league football and the Words Fight Games YouTube channel.
Or for the American audience, soccer.
Soccer. What day is it?
It's Monday, ladies and gentlemen. You know what that means.
I feel like I can't start a podcast without hearing you say that now.
I think it's kind of become the thing now.
See, when Keith was around, and we only did one podcast a week, his thing would always be to do the 5-second countdown, and then no matter what, once he hit 0, I started. And your thing is, it's Monday, you know what that means, or it's Friday, you know what that means. People
Just
do
in
know
case,
what that means.
Rest in peace, Brody Lee. We miss you every day, sir.
But yeah, I'm sure you asked me how I was. I'm good, thank you. I'm embarking on.
You felt betrayed last night.
Well, last night was a totally different story. It was just that one thing, but it was the last thing that happened. That was the problem. And then it did that thing. I did that thing where it really annoys me in Among Us. Which it's no one's there. It's just like everyone just suddenly bails at the same time. It's just like, oh man, like you're having fun and everything's going well, and then one person goes, oh well, that's my last one. And then a bunch of the people are like, look at the time. I better go and wash my hair. Oh. It's just like, oh.
Like I was pooped. I was already on fumes before I started streaming. But I was just like, I'm gonna do it. I said I would and everything like that. But I was on fumes last night, Amy. Absolute fumes. So if the highlight clips when you go for it aren't very engaging, I have no excuse. I was just very sleepy.
Whatever. Yeah, I kind of wish I had streamed last night, given this next week coming up. I should have been me. But hey ho, live and learn.
Should have rock, paper, scissors then.
That was that. With your internet, no, I doubt it. I'm like, 1, 2. I know you look like you're trying to look frozen. I can see your eyes moving. Nice try though. But how are you? Because I answered.
I'm all right. Yeah, I've had a good week. Had a busy week, really. I've done multiple things. I've obviously smashed my college work. Got it in early, ladies and gentlemen. Like I'm ahead of schedule. Feels weird. Feels weird to have some productiveness back in my life. But no, yes, I've also done the incredible, Amy. I've streamed 3 times this week. Like that might be a record for me.
Oh,
I streamed Dead Space twice.
You did. We're going to talk about that later.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. Yes, I'm talking about a very, 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 very old game, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I'm like, let's start a podcast where we talk about all the new releases we've been playing. And like, we didn't play any new releases.
But yeah,
go figure.
It's Dead Space, ladies and gentlemen.
I know what you mean about being surprised you're ahead. Like, I've got so many videos lined up and just being like, oh well, I'm going to keep them. Like, I always try to like put out no less than 3 videos a week.
Yeah.
So like the 2 podcasts and then a video, whatever that video might be. So then I sat back and I was like, cool, I've got a script for this written, and I've got this video already edited and put together, and I want to do this stupid video. You'll see. And then this, and then this, and then that, and then I was like, cool, so that's 5 weeks of videos. so I don't need to worry about what I'm doing for the next 5 weeks. It's
The
good.
thing is, even more for me is that
good.
I'm almost pretty much done the next 2 units I have coming up, and they aren't to hand in for another 2 weeks to 3 weeks even, and I've almost got them done. So I'm just like, feels weird being this productive.
I know,
What's
right?
going on?
More time for old ass video games.
Playing old games.
Playing old ass video games. Well, luckily I didn't play. I played games. The majority of games haven't been released yet. I'm not gonna lie, because we've got 3 main games to talk about, and those games are Loop Hero, Outriders, and Fights in Tight Spaces. I'll also be talking a bit about Bravely Default 2 and Dead Space in the back part of the podcast. The part where we exile all of the games that we've either already talked about or that are older games. We talk about those towards the end. I need to cough. It's just dead air for anybody who's listening to the podcast. I tried to go through it. I was trying to power through it, and I was like, I can't power through it.
It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen.
So, let's talk about Loop Hero. I've got notes. The Sherlock Diary is back. I remember to write my notes. So.
Has returned.
Still don't like Sherlock. What are you gonna do?
He's a bit of a dick. Let's be frank, ladies and gentlemen.
Loop Hero. I was trying. So I always write in the first line what kind of game it is to remind myself to say it's this kind of game, because not everybody plays all the games. So it's like that knowledge might not necessarily be assumed. And also, I didn't know what Loop Hero was. I'd heard of it, but I didn't know what it was until I'd started playing it. And it's a weird game, because it's basically a genre mashup of a deck builder, a strategy game, an RPG, and a roguelike. And then half the rest of the page is dedicated to describing what the fuck that means. So
Amy, what does that mean?
What the hell kind of game do you get if you cross all of those things? Well, so the main part of the game is there's a loop, like a path that loops around, and your character starts off at a campfire, and then the character walks around the loop, never ending, until you decide to retreat. And what you do is you play cards as tiles. So you're placing buildings, terrain, and enemies onto the loop. Essentially, it's just a path with nothing on it, and you're building the map as you go around. Okay. You can also play cards in the void, so the black space outside that you can build others. You can place other cards that do other things. I'll get into the details of it later. As you're wandering around fighting enemies, walking through the different terrain cards that you've put down, collecting treasure chests, stuff like that, you're gathering loot to make your character stronger, and you're gathering resources to take back to your camp, which is a separate place. That's the in-between place. So if you imagine the roguelike part is the loop. Every time you come back to the loop, the path's different, and you start from scratch, putting stuff down. And in between, you go to a camp where you can construct new buildings, which unlock new cards, new character classes, new, I guess, abilities would be a good way to describe it. There's a card you can build, or a building you can construct, which will unlock an XP system. So as you kill monsters, your XP goes up, and then you can choose bonuses for your character as you're going through. And again, those reset every time you go into a new loop. And that's the game. That's what you do in the game. You build stuff. There's a boss. Eventually, if you put down enough tiles, you unlock. There's a meter that fills up, and when it gets full, you unlock the boss, and then you walk around the loop one more time, and then you fight the boss at the end of the loop, and then die. I mean, eventually you win.
Just to die at the end.
I'm sure eventually you can win. People have told me they've finished the game, so must be doable.
Yay them.
But my deathless streak came to a swift and violent end the first time I tried to fight the Lich. He's the boss of the first chapter.
Oh, wow. Okay, so what has worked for you in this game?
Everything? Is that a fine answer? Literally everything about this game works for me.
Any specifics?
I was like, you looked like you were like, oh, what do I follow that up with? And I was like, oh, don't worry, I got specifics. I got pages of specifics. So, building this map over and over again, like it's a different map every time. Like, it's really interesting because you've got to balance it really well. So like when you kill monsters, so when you start off this like slime, every like normal tile has a 5% chance to spawn a slime every day. Like think Dragon Quest, little round slimes, but in like pixel art, and like you killing enemies unlocks cards, unlocks gear, and then the harder the enemies, the rarer the gear that you unlock, or sometimes you'll unlock special cards, and like you've got to make sure you balance it. So if you throw out tons of tiles that spawn all sorts of fucking wolves, vampires, there's ones for mosquitoes and giant spiders. There's all sorts of different ones. Like right at the beginning, your hero's gonna get fucking destroyed, like because you just put everything in their path. So you need to like keep that balance at all times, which is really, really like an interesting sort of gameplay mechanic. Because you know, like in any other game, you'd be trying to avoid fights, right? Or like trying to avoid tough fights. But in this game, you need to put the tough fights in the way of your character. But also, like in a deck building game, it would be like, cool, I'm going to play all the cards that I can. But in this game, you don't do that because you'll probably fuck yourself up, like really badly. So like there's this really cool balance where you gotta have it. You gotta make it tough enough so that you're gaining the resources you need, but not too tough that it just kills you. And it turns out that's really addictive. Like they've crossed a city builder. It's not a city, but they've crossed like a city builder with an RPG.
So you would say they found that right balance?
I'd say they found the balance. The developers have definitely found like a really good balance of everything. Like it's weird to me to be playing a game where it's like the character moves automatically and attacks automatically.
Mm-hmm.
So at no point are you in control of the character at all. Like the character walks, and if it runs into an enemy, poof, it starts the combat, and they just hit. They just attack, and that's it.
Yeah.
It's all automatic. Like, you can pause it to go into planning phase. But where that might sound like it's sort of mindless or like an idle game, like, there's so much going on at any given moment where you're going through the different equipments that you've got and figuring out what to equip on your character. And do you want your character to have more defense, or do you want them to have more regeneration? So, like, they'll regenerate 3 hit points per second. In real time as well. It's like 3 hit points. It just ticks up. And then you've got all the tile cards to play where it's like, well, do I play this here? Do I do this? Oh, is now the time to put down this grove to start like spawn? Because like you put the grove down and it spawns enemies, which you might think is suboptimal. But walking through that grove will get you some resources. Like every time you go through it, you'll get some wood. And also when you kill the enemies, you'll get stuff, you'll get rewards, you'll get new tiles, you'll get new equipment.
Yeah.
So it's advantageous to kill things. And then I've wrote, this game is mega. And then it goes on to the next page. Addictive. Mega something. Hold on, it's mega. Yeah, it's really addictive. It's really satisfying. Like, you've always got to sort of... So every time you complete one loop, like you arrive back at your campfire, which is where you start, and you have the option to retreat with all of your resources. So you can retreat from the campfire and take back everything that you've collected. You can retreat from anywhere else on the map and take back, I think it's 60% of everything that you've collected. And if you die, you take back 30% of everything you collected. And so you've always got to think to yourself, because every time you make a loop, the enemies that are on the map get stronger. And the way timer mechanics work in this game is there's a bar which slowly fills up for like the day. So like spawn rates are based on days. So like this tile will spawn a spider every day. This tile will spawn a skeleton every 3 days.
Yeah.
But the more enemies that are on the map, because the time doesn't stop when you're in combat, so the more enemies that are on the map and the more fights that you do, the longer it takes in that in-game daytime to go around the map. So the enemies are getting tougher, and there's usually more of them, like as you keep going and going into the game. So like there's that risk reward of, do you go around again for more resources, or do you cut your losses and take back what you've got? And also at some point it's like, is this a resource run or is this a boss run? Like, am I doing this to fight the boss? And that's just, those are just the decisions that you have to make in the gameplay loop itself. Like, there's so many other decisions that you're making, like, at all times. Like, it can be a little overwhelming at first because you sort of learn the basics, but there's a lot that the game doesn't teach you about how you get resources and how to like build an effective deck, because while the cards that you gain are random, when you start a new expedition, which is a new run, like you can choose which cards will be in the pool, kind of like Dead Cells, where it's like you're choosing whatever weapons you've got unlocked are in the pool that you can find in a run.
Yeah.
With this one, you choose up to 12 cards that you can find, like by killing enemies. I'm gonna stop talking now. I want and see if what your next question might be, because I got tons more I could talk about this game.
Okay, so basically, with what you've just said, you also talked about the game mechanics there for yourself. So, what's basically the next question would be: is what's not working for you?
I don't know.
This game, like you say, it's mega, it's addictive, it's brilliant, and
addictive.
everything right now for you. But what?
I don't know if there's anything that's not working for me right now. I've played about 5 or 6 hours of the game.
Yeah.
And like I played it twice. I played it earlier in the week, then I played it this afternoon, like before we were playing, because I fancied playing it. And like there were things that I thought were like, oh, this isn't so great, or oh, that's not so great. Like when I played it the first time, that when I've sat down to play it again the second time, and when you play a game the first time, like especially like a new game that's very different to like games that you would normally play, like there is that element of discovery, right, where it's just like you're learning how things work in this weird new world. So then the second time I played through, I was like, cool, I'm going to sit down and make a concentrated effort to figure out what the fuck I'm doing. Because, like, in that first sort of gameplay day, that first gameplay session, it was like, cool. I was just like when you can build buildings on like it's almost like a building tree, like a tech tree you would see in like Civilization or other strategy games. And it was just like, I can afford to build this, so I'll build it, for example. Or like, this weapon is a higher level on the weapon I've got equipped, so I will just equip that. Whereas the second time I was being more thoughtful about what I was doing. So, for example, like I was figuring out what stats to focus on for weapons to equip on my hero. For example, like I was like going for like I was playing the warrior class, so I was going for like high attack or like high attack speed to like attack really quickly, and ignoring like higher level equipment that might lower my attack speed. Like it's technically better, but not for the build that I'm going for. And then on the building side of things, it was like figuring out, okay, I want to build this building. This building sounds like the thing that I want to build next. How do I do that? And then you get deeper and deeper into it and think, okay, I need these resources. How do I get these resources? So, for example, the 2 resources I really needed for building the last building that I was like focused on as like my personal objective of like, this is what I'm going to do, was rations and stable metals. And it was like, cool, figure out how I get those things. Which, by the way, getting stable metals, like you have to fill your inventory up, and then as you keep getting more items into a full inventory, it just scraps whatever's on the end, and that's how you get
Yeah.
stable metals. Which is a very interesting kind of thing where it's like, oh, I just need to fucking fill this fucking inventory up, not equip stuff. It's very strange, but cool. But yeah, once it was like, and then it's like, okay, how do I get rations? I get them from this. Okay, cool. So if I remove a bunch of cards and focus on these cards that I need, and then increase the chances of getting those cards, etc., etc. And like, so like the layer of strategy, the further into the game you go, and the more you understand about the game, it just gets deeper and deeper.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I've died to the first boss. I haven't beaten the first boss, but I've played a lot of the game, and like it's gonna go deeper. Like I can see all the buildings that I can build in the distance, and there's a lot of them, and it's like, oh my, like what are these gonna do? Like the last one I built unlocked an entirely new class, with an entirely different playstyle, and it was like, this is really cool, because like that class like gets equipment in a completely different way. The rogue to the warrior, and like they have different stats to the warrior, and it's just like, oh, this is cool. Like I've just changed the entire fucking game.
That's very unique. I won't lie. That they've just you you work on it, you plan it all out, you work your way through it, and then boom, a new character that changes the style and however you could want to play it. That's really really canny. That. I think this is okay. I think this is a good question. Is this game for everybody?
I don't think. Well, I mean, my opinions. I don't think any game is for everybody.
I agree to that second sentiment as well.
I think you've got to.
Do you think this will be? Okay, better question. Do you think this could get the casuals in, or is this just for hardcore gamers? Quote unquote.
Quote unquote.
Yeah.
Like it depends what kind of game play experiences you're into, right? Like the thing about quote unquote casual gamers is, like, there's a lot of games out there in the casual space that are like Loop Hero, because although it's a lot deeper and a lot more strategic than clicking games or idle games, like it looks like one, and it kind of walks like one as well. Like it's kind of like an idle game, but with just a lot more mechanics and a lot more strategy involved. Like whether you like this game or not will probably depend on like how much you can be invested in everything I just talked about. So like, it's not just about getting to the end and beating the bosses and saving the world or whatever. Like, there's all those layers of strategy and planning. So like, how much you would enjoy sort of working your way up a tech tree or a building tree in this case, and thinking, I'm excited to get this building because the things that it'll give me is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
How do I get that? Cool. Going a resource run with like wheat fields and villages, because I need the wheat fields for the rations that combine it. So that I need the wheat fields for the food that combines into the rations. That kind of thing. And like slowly getting more powerful. Basically, if you like roguelites and you like strategy games, you're like at the dead center of this Venn diagram.
It seems like a game that is very old school.
Yeah, I mean it's visually, it is. I thought the video had frozen, but I just paused while I was playing. Yeah, that's a thing. Visually, sound design wise, it kind of is, but it kind of isn't, because again, it kind of. I don't think I've ever quite played a game like Loop Hero before.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate. I don't consider old school as a bad thing to the
Oh God,
audience
no!
who listen.
Absolutely.
I consider that as all school is brilliant. I'll just say that.
Old school games are good. Old games are good. New games are good.
But like I'm going to talk about later.
Yeah. But like, yes, aesthetically, it is kind of like an old school game.
Very retro.
But in a gameplay terms, like, no, I don't think I've ever played a game like this before.
Well, that's amazing.
Not that combines these. Like I've played games with sort of all of the individual mechanics. Like I'm going to be
Put
talking about
together.
another deck building roguelike game later. Like, but combined with like when you combine everything that I've talked about, into like this one game, it's like, oh, this is new. And I think that's one of the reasons, because we talked about it on the Words About Games podcast on last Friday, where I was like, this game is sold really well. And I think that's one of the reasons why, because this is new and different, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm going to talk about the next game that we talk about in a little bit, and I'm going to be using terms and comparing it to games that exist. With Loop Hero, it's like I can't. Like, what would I compare this to as like a comparative experience?
There's nothing to
Nothing.
that for
There's
you.
nothing I can think of in my vast library of encyclopedic video game history that I could quite compare Loop Hero to.
That's amazing.
Um,
It sounds like it's a very unique experience.
it is. The last thing I'll touch on as well is experimentation with the cards that you get, because what the game doesn't tell the game tells you what the cards do. So, for example, if you put rocks down, they'll increase. Yeah, it'll give you rocks as a resource, but they're not a tally put in on the loop. They're a tally put outside the loop, and they'll give you an HP bonus. So they'll increase your maximum HP. And if you put rocks next to each other, they'll like chain. They have bonuses if you have rocks adjacent to rocks. If you put rocks or mountains, which are just like rocks, but they do more because they're mountains, they're bigger. If you put them in a 3x3 square, they turn into a mountain peak, which gives you a massive boost to your maximum HP, and also spawns harpies. So like every few days, a harpy will fly from the mountain peak and land on the loop somewhere, and you can fight it. Like, and there's tons of stuff like that where it's like there are combinations or like ways you can like put these cards together or put them next to each other, which will change how they work or improve how they work, but like give you a bonus.
Yeah.
And the game doesn't tell you this. You figure it out because you do something completely on accident and go, wait, hang on. Like there's a treasury card you can put down, and it's like to unlock the treasure in the treasury, you have to put tiles around it. And if you do, it gives you random resources, and then once you've completely surrounded it, it'll give you like loads of treasure, but it'll also start spawning gargoyles on the map. But like, so one of the things I did was, I've got this meadow card which increases the amount of health I regain every day, and I put it next to the treasury, and the meadow turned into a blooming meadow, and it gave me even more health. And then it turns out if you put a meadow next to any other tile that's not a meadow, it turns into a blooming meadow. And it's stuff like that, which is just like, oh, that's cool. So then, like, again, the strategy goes a layer deeper, where it's not just like, I need to place these cards and do the things that it says on the cards. It's like, these cards can have hidden effects. How do I combine these cards to do something cool?
Well, that does sound like really interesting. There's no doubt about it.
It's such a good game.
Yeah, I've had it for a while because I'm the one who owns it. We game share and everything, but I just haven't got around to it. But like, I've heard nothing but great things. It's like I say, it's selling very well, which is amazing to hear. It's got an 85, I think, on Open Critics, so it's like well received by the critics and everything. And I think the audience is well receiving it as well. So that's yeah, it's a great little start to the year. A great.
It's such a cool game.
Yeah.
But yes,
it's a good story to start with and everything, basically, because
it
it's
is.
like the game comes out of nowhere, you have no idea what it is, but how people
Yeah,
clicking with it, it's working for you. I've got one final question, Amy.
Okay, go on.
Deck builder.
Deck builder.
I'm being serious when I say this, okay?
Okay.
Can you get the Red Eyes Black Dragon?
No.
Well, this game sucks then. Fuck this.
How dare you? This is one of my favorite games of 2021. How dare you?
Fabulous. I'm over the moon for that.
And I've said that 2 weeks in a row. I feel like I've summoned these games because I was talking a few weeks ago where I was like, oh,
where's the games?
Where's the game? It's been a bit of a slow start of 2021. Boom, Persona 5 Strikers. Boom, Brave the Default 2. Boom, Loop Hero. And I'm just like, I did it. I did it. I summoned it. You're all very
Yeah.
welcome.
Yes. We bow to Amy.
It's like 17 games coming out in the next 2 weeks as well.
So next, we've started strong, ladies and gentlemen. Loop Hero, go and give it a try when you get a chance. Amy would say it's a high recommendation from her. Next up, what have you got, Amy?
Outriders.
Outriders.
Outriders. It's not out yet, but there's a demo. So I played it on PS5 completely on a whim. I sat down and I thought, I'm going to download the Outriders demo. And I did. And then I played it. And then I played it again. And then I played it again because I was trying out the different classes. Because it's 4. I've tried 3 of them. Where to start with Outriders? So it's
going to be a games of service, I believe, when it
No.
comes out. Yes.
no.
Not?
So this is what
What
I
was?
thought as well.
Okay.
Like Loop Hero. Turns out I didn't know very much about this game. So I sat down to play this game, and it looks like Destiny, and it walks like Destiny, and it talks like Destiny.
Even though it's a third-person shooter.
Even though it's a third-person shooter. And then I played it. And then I played it again. Because I played one of the classes, and I was like, I'm going to try a different class. Because I wasn't quite feeling the class that I picked. And then I picked a different class. We'll talk about that later. The second class I picked, I had a fucking amazing time with. Think less Destiny, more Borderlands. So this isn't a live service games as a service game. There's a distinction order to this, but this is a co-op multiplayer shooter with loot.
So it's a looter shooter.
With loot. It's a looter shooter.
Yeah.
And they might add new content to it going forward, like seasonal content or whatnot, but this isn't like a persistent online world so much as it's a friggin' third-person shooter that has 3-player co-op, and it's kind of designed around that 3-player co-op. Like as I was playing it more and more, it was a case of, oh, this is kind of Borderlands. Like in terms of its gameplay mechanics and the way it's designed. Not in terms of like atmosphere or story. It's very different from Borderlands. But yeah, I was like, oh, this is Borderlands. And then I was like, oh, I can't wait to tell Moody. Moody loves Borderlands. Not the third one, but the other one.
Would have been nice if you hit me up, but never mind.
I mean, I was on PS5. It was on a whim. Besides, I've got some great news for you. I've got some great news for you at the end of this. Don't worry.
You got me a PlayStation 5.
Yeah, exactly. You know what?
I love you already, Amy.
I bought you a PlayStation 5 just so you could play Outriders.
I knew it.
No, essentially the gameplay loop of this is you shoot things, and you use your special abilities because you're kind of a superhero, and then you go out and you shoot things, and then you get loot, and then you come back, you do the mission, and then you come back and you get the mission reward, and then you go out and do it again. Like that. It's the same structure. It's that structure. That's the structure. And like you can do like multiple quests and then come back and hand them all in at once. That's the gameplay loop. Very more active than Loop Hero. I played 3 different classes out of the 4 that were available. I played the Tech, the Monster, the Trickster, and the Devastator, which are very like. You only get 3 ability, like you get more than 3 abilities, but you only get 3 ability like slots, L1, R1, and then L1 and R1, and like, but they play so differently, and they encourage such different player styles. The main way they do that, aside from the abilities, is this game has a really interesting idea for how to heal in games like this, whereas like in any co-op shooter or whatever, you find health packs or your health regenerates or one of you is a healer and heals everybody else. And in this game, there is a support class which can like boost other people's healing, but in this game, like healing is tied to your class, so each class heals in a different way. So for example, the Trickster regains health by killing enemies at close range. And that's it. That's how they regain health. So you have to kill. You have to get right up and kill people. Close quarters combat character. The Technomancer like heals just by shooting people. So significantly less health regain. But like if you're using like say a rapid fire weapon, you're like healing a little bit of health. Not enough that you could just stand in the middle of a field, and as long as you're constantly shooting people, you're fine. Like, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. The Devastator heals when the Devastator is like a tank class, and they heal when anyone around them in close quarters dies. So they don't necessarily have to get the kill, but because they tank, their job is to tank all of the enemies. They'll be like up and in the middle of them, and boom, you're playing the Technomancer, bang, because that's a long range class. Snipe someone in the head, boom, you regain health as a Devastator, and every
Interesting
class,
mechanics.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It was.
It's good. It's not. It's good. It's not the same for everyone. They changed it by base of class, which is always a good idea because, like, sometimes you just see laziness from developers just throw out the same type of ability for a different class, even though it's the same ability.
No, this is very, very like. Some of them might feel like they're the same thing, but no, they're vastly different. Like the demo only covered obviously the first couple hours of the game, so like there's like massive skill trees, and I unlocked like one skill in each one. Like, you know what I mean? Where it's like I only got one skill point. Like I only unlocked like 4 abilities per class. And I suppose I could grind it out and like get more XP as I was grinding out, but I was happy to just sort of like get to the point where if I was playing this game normally and then just let it end, and then like think, oh well, I could continue in the full game. Um, but yeah, like the classes play so differently, and not just because of the way that you heal. Like I started with the Technomancer just on a whim. It was the long range one, and I was like, cool, I'll just do that. And the Technomancer's okay. Like they're geared around support, so like playing them solo is not necessarily the best idea. But at the same time, like it was still fun to play them solo. Like their abilities were interesting. Like you throw out a turret, and it freezes enemies. Your melee attack freezes enemies as well, and then you can shatter them with the gun. It's pretty fun. Or I imagine like you freeze them, and then someone else comes along and punches them to bits. Like I'm imagining it in co-op, but like you do that kind of thing, and then it's just like, all right, cool. Like you throw a grenade. The Technomancer is probably also, now that I think about it, the more standard sort of third person cover shooter class. Like it's the class where you're playing the most like sort of standard third person cover shooter, which is good. It's a pretty good third person cover shooter. So then I played the Trickster, because I was like, well, what's the opposite end of this spectrum? And the Trickster's gameplay is on the screen right now for YouTube users, and you're probably thinking, what the fuck did you just do? Well, let me tell you. The Trickster is wild. So, like, knowing that I had to be aggressive, right? I just went, knowing I'd already played through the demo once, I went, cool, I'm just going to be fucking aggressive as fuck and see what happens. Oh my god, it was so much fun. Like, ditch the cover entirely. I was just rolling all over the place, running all over the place. The Trickster's abilities are all to do with, like, time manipulation. So, like, the 3 main abilities that you unlock in the demo. One is like this sweeping sword attack where you hit like enemies in front of you and it like ages them to death. Like they just suddenly like they dissolve into skeletons and then explode. And that's the standard ability. Like if it doesn't do enough damage to kill someone, they just kind of and then explode and take damage. The second ability is the movement ability where it's like you see an enemy, right? Pick an enemy that you're aiming at, you push the button, and you just teleport, and you're behind them with a shotgun. And then the last ability, which was the L1R1 ability, is like you set up a bubble, right? Now, obviously, I was playing solo, but I can already imagine like the co-op advantages to this class. You set up a bubble and it slows everyone down that's inside the bubble, like all the enemies, which is great for solo. Like if I'm surrounded, I can just go whoop, and then I can pick some enemies off. The bubble also stops bullets, so it also kind of acts as like a shield, because once the bullets hit the bubble, they slow down as well. So you can use it as a shield and be like, "No, you shall not pass," whatever. Again, there it is on the screen. And it was just so much fun. Just be rolling around, fucking in everyone's face, blasting them away. I got this like automatic shotgun, which you could like hold the trigger down and it blasted away like a machine gun, and oh, so satisfying. Enemies explode in blood. When you kill them, it's like, oh my god, wow. And then the third class I played was the Devastator, which is the tank class, and is also the closest I think I'll ever come to being able to play as an Earthbender in a video game. I can't take credit for that. I saw someone say that on Twitter, and I was like, yeah, that's pretty solid. Like, you can pound the ground and send out a shockwave of like earth, which just like knocks people off their feet and stuff. You hold the buttons down, you armor up, so like you get this armor of earth around you, and it damages enemies that are close by.
That sounds awesome.
I can't remember what the third skill was.
Well, you suck at
in
You got your Sherlock book. You didn't write it down.
No, I didn't. I assumed I'd remember, but like
You'll
it was a lot
remember
of
after
it was a lot of fun
Yeah.
to be that class as well. Like I didn't try the Pyromancer, which was the other class, which is like
Yeah.
fire-based stuff. But
So
yeah,
that's
like
a firebender.
I'd be a firebender and you time bender. It's like a firebender, an ice bender, an earthbender, and a time bender. But yeah, it's just very fun to play. Like I played it solo and I had fun, but I had to keep the world tier down because of the way that healing works. So the world tier is the difficulty.
Yeah. So basically, kind of similar. I think didn't Anthem have something like this?
Probably. I don't really remember Anthem all
Yeah.
that well. But yeah, you unlock
Here we go.
new. You start a world
Yeah.
tier 1, and you unlock new world tiers, and like you could just let them keep going up and up and up and up. I think I unlocked 3 in the demo, which was basically casual, easy, and normal. Like that's how they were described in the game. And I got to world tier 3, which was like the normal difficulty, and it was fine when I was fighting groups of normal enemies. But as soon as they throw in a mini boss, or you're fighting a boss, it becomes exponentially more difficult. One, because there's a boss fight in this game with no other enemies, so there's no way to get kills. So unless you're the Technomancer, you can't regain health during this boss fight, and the boss is always attacking you because you're by yourself. And then when it's like, even when there's like a boss level, like a mini boss level sort of character surrounded by other enemies, it's like everybody's focused on you, including this boss. And it's like, well, I need to manage the boss, but also need to get health by getting and killing these people. But I've turned my back on the boss, and now they've launched like a massive column of fire at me. Like, oh god, now I'm on fire. And then it's like, cool, I dropped it back down from tier 3 to tier 2. And then I was like, cool, I can manage this and I'm having a good time. So I don't know how well it will work solo going forward, but I have a feeling that's not going to be a problem for me and thee. And maybe we'll get Keith involved.
Maybe indeed. Yeah. So this sounds all great. It sounds like great, interesting characters and everything. But and also this is just a demo, so we have to reiterate. I think
just
that
a
at the
demo.
same time. So going off from the demo so far, what didn't work for you?
So I don't know, the main character's kind of fun. And the characters are kind of fun, and the world's very pretty. Obviously, I played on PS5, so it's like, oh wow! Like I'm still not used. Like it's still the novelty's still there for PS5's graphics, but the story was just like whatever, man. And like there was this prologue, and it lasted about an hour, and it was just like, okay, I see what you're trying to do, and I'm surprised by like how in depth you're going in the story and in the characters and in setting up the world, and maybe some cooler stuff will happen later on in the story, because again this is just the prologue and the starting area, which usually famous for like not having the best stuff in them. But like yeah, it was just like just like the story just wasn't great.
Yeah.
Like it never really hooked me. But like again, if I'm playing this game with like say you and Keith as an example, like I'm not really gonna be bothered about the story because we'll be having a good time shooting all of the bad guys.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah. So I think that's basically it. Because, like I said, this is only a demo right now. You've spoken about the classes, which are very exciting. It sounds like for what you're going off told me. This is I'll just say I have nothing else to ask so
Well,
apart from what was the thing you were going to say.
what was the thing I was going to say? Oh yeah, the thing. So I was
When do
on
I get the
Twitter.
PlayStation 5?
Yeah, this is what. No, sorry, matey, I didn't buy your PlayStation. Um, so I was on Twitter a few hours ago.
Been on Twitter.
Microsoft made a very interesting tweet, which was picked up by a lot of news outlets, in which they've very heavily hinted that Outriders might be coming to Game Pass.
Nice.
They did one of those fake leak emails from Melinda McGame Pass, and the references in the fake email were Outriders references.
Very nice. That's awesome.
So this game might be in Game Pass on April 1st when it releases.
Yeah, which is just a couple of weeks away.
Which, yeah. Either way, I'm looking for. I'll play it. It was fun. I want to play more of it. I'm hoping the progress continues over on the platform that you're on. I'm gonna look into crossplay, but if not, or if it comes into Game Pass, I'll just get it on Xbox and it'll be easier for us to play together. But
I was already getting it for Xbox. I won't lie. I was going to rent the Outriders for Xbox, so I was already looking into.
But either way,
so.
I mean,
yeah,
I want to play more. So
definitely,
yeah. Look forward to more of that in a few weeks.
A friend of ours saying give the demo a go, and I'm just like, nah, I'll just wait. I'm gonna just the game when we get
demos
it.
are a double-edged sword, and I've said this after a lot of EGXs, where it's like it's cool to play a game and try it out and see if you like it. Mm-hmm. But if you are already probably going to play the game anyway, you might as well hold off because you're essentially playing through the first 2 to 3 hours of Outriders in the demo.
Yeah.
And when you get the game, you'll probably be playing it again. Like the progression carries over in the demo, which is good.
Yeah.
But it's like that's the demo came out a couple of weeks ago, so it's like if you wait like a month to then get back into the game, you'll be lost. Be like, oh, what was this again? Oh, what was this? What was I doing? Although I did read someone has grinded the demo for like 200 hours.
They really like the game. Congrats! I love to hear that.
Fair play. It is quite nice. I need to drink this tea. It's gone cold.
You don't, yeah. Hot drinks. They just aren't good. They just aren't nice whatsoever.
Now I've got my cold drink.
Yay! Okay, Amy. You've talked about Loop Hero. You've talked about Outriders.
Outriders.
I got that.
Riders.
What is the third and final new game you want to talk about?
This will be quick because it's an early access game, and I streamed it like once last week. Fights in Tight Spaces, which I'd played before. I played a demo at one of the Steam Summer Game Festival, Winter Game, whatever, one of the game festivals.
Yeah.
So I'd already played a bit of it, and I was like, "This is fun." And then
the Sherlock book has returned, ladies and gentlemen.
And then they came out in early access, and I was like, "Hey, can I have a code for this game?" And they were like, "Yeah, sure. Here's your code." And I was like, "Cool, thanks." That's my way of saying I was sent a code for this. Full disclosure. So I played it in early access. It's a deck building roguelike strategy game. But it's nothing like Loop Hero. But it's nothing like Loop Hero. So you obviously watched me play this.
Yep.
Because I played it on Twitch.
I asked you to do a roundhouse kick.
You did ask me to do a roundhouse kick, and eventually I unlocked the ability to do a roundhouse kick.
It was pretty sweet.
And it was a roundhouse kick. It sure was a roundhouse kick. Mm-hmm. So what you're doing in this one is you have a deck of cards which are martial arts moves. And then you're going through a series of levels, which you select paths like Curse of the Dead Gods we were talking about last week, where you're selecting like a path through between like, oh, do you want to go here and fight 4 enemies, or do you want to go here and fight 3 enemies, but also you have to protect the British ambassador, which is apparently a level. What the British ambassador is doing in a prison, I don't know, but hey,
I can think of a lot of
I can
reasons
think of,
without
I can think of a few
certain things
reasons.
Yeah, I can definitely think of a few reasons right now.
So it's turn based, and essentially you've got your deck, you draw a few cards, and then each turn is like a puzzle. So you can see what all the different enemies are gonna do once you hit end turn. And then you have all of your cards, so you can see what you can do in this turn. And you basically have to figure out how to do damage, avoid damage, whatever. You basically have to figure out how to maximize your opportunities in any given turn. But you do it with sweet ass fucking kung fu moves,
What
which
more do you
Moody
want?
can
Sweet
attest.
ass kung fu moves.
Like I unlocked a card after you left.
Fighting.
I unlocked a card after you left, which was like a wall punch, where it's like there's a wall behind you and you play the card and you jump off the wall and punch dude in front of you. Bam.
So you did a Superman punch.
And I was like, it's fucking great. It was amazing. I only got to use it once. It was devastating.
Whatever. So this is an early access game.
Yeah. So like, yeah, there's a bunch of different. So you get your health. You've got your block. You can play cards that will increase your block, which means like you can block attacks and not take health damage. You can play cards which will counter. Some of the block cards will be like, oh, you block certain amount of damage and gain a damage boost. And then there's your sort of attack cards where it's like you do certain moves and you do a certain amount of damage. Some of them will push characters away from you. You can do a roundhouse kick like Moody wanted. And you can do them in both directions. You can do a roundhouse kick in either direction, and it's like it'll push an enemy like one tile to the left. There's like grapples where you can throw enemies. You can push enemies away from you. You can move, slip past enemies. You can do a I unlocked a card at one point where it's like you roll over an enemy, so you roll it into the tile behind them and then hit them in the back of the head. Like it's all there's like it's all based on movement and positioning. And like you're not just sort of fighting to do damage. You're trying to position yourself in the best possible position or manipulate the enemies. So like if there's a guy with a gun and he's going to shoot you, you can if you manage to position an enemy where you were or in the way, that enemy will get shot. Like the attacks that are telegraphed are going to go off no matter what. If you can put an enemy in the way of that attack, the enemy is going to take the damage from it.
Yeah.
Which I think there was, and I found this clip, and it's going to be in the highlights next week. I remember being like, "Oh man, I've really screwed this turn up," but then I'd somehow accidentally gotten all of the enemies to hit each other.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I was just like, "Oh wow, I didn't even know I'd done that."
Yay.
I got those two shotgun guys to shoot each other.
So one of the things that I thought was really interesting that what you told me is that this is based off kung fu moves, and it's actually based off actual kung fu moves as well.
Yeah,
which I thought was very, very intriguing. That they've used it as like I said, it's a card, it's a deck builder game and everything. So I thought that was very interesting and unique. So what of that combat has worked for you?
So it's just incredibly satisfying in terms of the puzzle that I was talking about earlier. Like the puzzle sort of element where it's like, these are my cards, this is what's going to happen. How do I maneuver myself around this for maximum effect? And then if you pull it off, if you pull something off, where it's just like, I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to do this, and then this is going to happen in the enemy's turn. And pulling stuff like that off is just incredibly satisfying. And I think it's heightened by the fact that you're just doing these incredibly cool like combat moves. As you go, like you start off with fairly basic sort of moves where it's just like the attacks are sort of like snap strike, and you just like you just do a quick snap strike. And then as I mentioned before, it's like you start unlocking more elaborate cards that do more stuff. Like there's the split kick, which, you know, if you've got an enemy in front of you and an enemy behind you, you can do a split kick and kick them both.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's doors on some of the levels, or like exits on some of the levels, where if you can push an enemy out through that door, no matter how much health they're out of the fight. So it's like you can have this big beefy enemy who's got like I think I'm about to do it in the in the gameplay footage on YouTube. Actually, looking across, you have this big enemy with loads of health, and you can just do a little roundhouse kick, whoop, or you can just push them for no damage, but they'll fall out of the level and be gone. And like, there's nothing sweeter than that. Just being like, you had shitloads of health and you do shitloads of damage. Push. Ah, see ya. But yeah, it's like you can also like turns can take a while because you're doing planning and stuff like that and figuring out like what cards you're going to play and how things are going to work. But then at the end of every turn, you can replay. I think it's the end of every. It might be the end of every combat, but you can do replays, so you can see everything happen in like real time, which looks really cool. If you do some cool shit in a particular like it's cool string of moves, and you watch it all back in real time, you're like, damn, I did that. That was me.
That was me. Rock on. So reiterate just like I did with the first game. This is not a live service. It's early access. So obviously this is going to be a game that's going to be improved on over time and everything. But what hasn't worked for you so far?
So I don't know if it's not something that hasn't worked for me so far as much as like I'm hoping they put this in the game at some point. And again, it's in early access, so you know there's a good probability that some of these things might end up in the game. But like I wish. So the game has pre-built decks. There's 3 in the game, I think. There's the balanced deck that you start with, which is just like a balanced set of moves. There's 2 that I unlocked. So one was counter, so it was like focused on building your block up and using counter moves. So if you get attacked, you know, like, bam, you hit them back in
Use
some
their
way
strength
or
against
another.
them, basically.
Yeah, basically, it's like you soak the damage, blah blah blah, and like you can like queue, like, and you saw on the stream, you can like queue up a few counters, so like someone like hits you, and you just punch them until they're gone, like Robert Pattinson in the Batman trailer, like you could just totally do it on vengeance. Still looking forward to that film, so God,
It's
but
finished.
it's finished.
Development.
But like yeah, you can block bullets as well, which like you can block and counter people shooting you, which I thought was really funny. But like, it sounds dumb, right? You like block the bullet, but what actually happens in the animation, because I was watching it, is you actually just get out of the way of the bullet, and I was like, that's a nice touch. But there's also an aggressive deck for just like loads of damage dealing things, where it's like the trickster in Outriders. You just like I'm gonna fucking fuck everything up. What I wished for, though, was like the ability to make my own deck and like build my own play style, because I have ideas, right, on like how I'd want to play this game, and sometimes I can't execute on those ideas. Like I can't remember which card it was. I remember I was streaming and I was talking to Elfie in the chat, and there was a card I had in the aggressive deck where I was like, "Why is this in the aggressive deck? It would be perfect in the counter deck." And I can't remember what it was, but it's not in the counter deck. And I was like, it should be in the counter deck because it would be perfect. I'd be damned if I can remember.
Was it the Red Eyes Black Dragon?
It wasn't Red Eyes Black Dragon. It also and this is a thing I find in a lot of deck builder games like Slay the Spire or Fights and Tithe Faces, and also just in games like this in general, because I think I remember talking about this in Curse of Dead Gods last week. Like mid run, you can stop off at gyms to upgrade cards or buy new cards. Or you can stop off at medical to heal yourself or increase your maximum HP. And all that stuff just costs too much money. Like, I'd love... Like, I get it's probably part of, like, the gameplay balance, but I just love the ability to, like to have more flexibility in terms of... But again, I think it just goes back to building my own deck. It's just like, I want more flexibility in terms of how I'm building my deck out. Like, if I'm stopping at a gym, it's like I can upgrade a card or I can buy a card. And generally, that's it. And if some of the more powerful cards, I can't upgrade them at all because it's astronomically expensive. And I'd have to go further and further into the game, like saving money up and stuff. But it's just like, I wish it was just a little bit easier, or there was a little bit more flexibility in that regard.
It's very surprising that they don't have in already that you can create your own deck. I know it's an early access game and everything, but for me, that you would think that would be the first thing put in for it, really. But yeah, this is hopefully something they're going to be putting in, and then
Maybe
if they
again,
do,
this again, I haven't really been following the development too closely because I sort of, if I'm really excited for games, I kind of try and go on as much of the media blackout as being a gaming YouTuber will let me. Um, it could be that like they just have these pre-built decks in to get people in, and then get people used to the gameplay mechanics. I remember Slay the Spire. It was like you had to go into a special mode in the game to use custom built decks because it was heavily built around classes,
yeah,
which had their own deck configurations. Um, um, but it would be nice. I would very very appreciate that, being able to sort of like go, yeah, I'm gonna make my own playstyle, or make John Wick, but without the guns because you don't get guns because you're a badass kung fu fighter.
but you're going to get the dogs there
Yeah, I'll get the dogs.
instead. Who got the dogs?
There's also events that you can find as you're traveling. So like, because you pick from a map where you're gonna go next, and some of the things you can find are events, and they're crap. Like I'm just gonna put it in there. They're just not great. Like they're pass fail with percentages based on them, and there's nothing you can do to influence. Like not your cards don't make a difference. Your character build doesn't make a difference. Like it's literally just like, okay, you're in this particular situation, and there's three different things you can do, and those three different things are, if you do this, there'll be a 66% chance you'll get a card, or a 33% chance you will take damage. If you do the other thing, there is a 50% chance you'll upgrade a card, and a 50% chance you'll get a permanent injury. And it's just like this, like it's just a bit lame. Like,
Yeah,
I'd rather
it
just
comes
take a
across.
fight.
Yeah, yeah, they should be able to give you the option to like do certain things. Then you give that choice to pick what you want and what you want. Yeah,
Like
that seems like it's a bit lazy.
rather than that being the way the events work, it would be like sacrifice a random card to upgrade two cards that you own.
Yeah,
Do a special fight. You can fight your way out of this situation, which like sets off an actual fight, and maybe it's tough, and you get like a bunch of cash for it or something like that.
yeah,
Like
that sounds about right.
yeah, the other thing as well. Sorry, like
No.
these aren't huge major problems. I still love the game. It's just I have a few sort of nickels. Shall we go with? And the last one is there's like sub objectives. So like obviously in each fight your goal is to win the fight and not get killed. But in each one there's like sub objectives where sometimes maybe there's a briefcase and you need to grab the briefcase within a certain amount of turns, and you'll get an extra £30. Or like if you get your combo meter up, which is basically every time you do an attack your combo meter goes up, and it affects how certain cards work, or like how much damage certain cards do. And it's like that's all well and good, but you're very dependent on the luck of the draw. Like if you don't get the movement cards you need to get to that briefcase, you ain't getting that briefcase, and there's literally nothing you can do about it.
You didn't listen to your heart of your cards, then. The heart of the cards.
Shut up, about the fucking cards, man. I'm so glad I'm done talking about card games. Fucking Red Eyes, Blue Dragon, can't lose. I don't know the fucking bollocks.
Call a red eyes black dragon, not a red eyes blue dragon or whatever. But anyway. Alright, so that's 3 games down for Amy. All 3 very intriguing, very unique in different ways. Go give them a try and let us know what you think of them, ladies and gentlemen. Time for me to go old school. So old school that sadly the developer no longer exists.
The developer doesn't exist. The series is dead.
Yes, but it will always be remembered as one of the greatest horror games out there.
I agree.
And that is Dead Space. I've been streaming this, and I've had a lot of fun playing this. And I've only played this once. Like I did all 3 of them basically back to back to back.
Oh
like,
wow!
I did 1, I did 2, and then new 3 was coming out like 6 months. And then I went, oh, and I heard it was co-op, and I was like, oh, dude, mate, I got my mate. We can do co-op. It's gonna be so great. Yeah. And then the co-op, I'll still stand by for 3. I still enjoy, but yes, 3 does have problems. But not here about 3 or 2. This is one of the best atmospheric atmospheric games ever. It is so psychologically scary as hell, and I love it. I've loved playing it. I've loved the game, the mechanics, and everything. I still love to this day the UI, and how like you hit how you can see your health on the back of your suit, your status on the back of the suit tells you where you're at, how you're up to, and everything. I really just love it. This is the best Iron Man game out of all Iron Man games.
I know, I said that when we were in chat with Foxes. And I was like, this is the best.
Say,
this is a better Iron Man game than Avengers.
I was going to say from Amy there, but it's just so good. It's eerie, it's creepy, there's noises everywhere, and you're just like, oh, why? And it's just random screams, and you're just like, I have to go that direction. And you just, why do I have to go that direction?
When you see the necromorph run off, and it's like, I have to go that way.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I've played Dead Space, so it was fun watching you play it. I remember actually, when I played the first Dead Space, I played the majority of it. It must have been a long time ago because I was drunk. Me, Keith, and Russell on New Year's Eve, and I was playing Dead Space. And,
the most randomest game to play.
And we were all pretty pissed, pretty drunk, and I was playing Dead Space, and it was terrifying. But it was even more terrifying sitting next to Keith, who like jumps at every noise in the game, and then because he jumps, I jump. Stop it! Sorry, that random memory just came back to me. That must have been
that's amazing.
God, that must have been like 10, 11 years ago. Fucking hell.
Well, the game's over 10 years old.
2008, yeah. I didn't play it when it came out. I got it, and then I just never got around to it for years.
It's just creepy as hell. Like, it doesn't even bother me that the character playing Isaac, it doesn't speak. I know for a lot of people that was one of the negatives of the game for it, but it never bothered me whatsoever. But I just love this game. I love it. I can't wait to stream probably more of it next week. Join us, twitch.tv, Words About Games. Don't know when it'll be happening yet, but we'll probably come. Hopefully, maybe complete it next week.
Maybe. I've
It
got
all
a very
depends on me.
special video planned for when Moody completes Dead Space, and I haven't told them what it is. It's dumb. Don't worry, it's just a dumb video. But so this is just the part of the podcast where we're just shooting the shit about other games that we've played that aren't new games. So this isn't like a what worked, what didn't, go into depth on the gameplay mechanics. But I do have one question for you.
Yes.
What's your favorite gun that you've had so far unlocked in the game? Because I'm gonna be honest, they're all pretty fucking amazing. They are all really good.
Let's see. I've got 3 guns, if I remember right. I have the line gun, I have the pulse rifle, and I have the gun you automatically get.
Plasma cutter.
The plasma cutter, yeah. The line gun has saved my ass a few times. The pulse rifle has saved us. The pulse rifle special has saved me a few times as well. Just because of the amount of people have got.
I've got to admit,
around me.
Very few moments, and like I've been in chat for both of the streams that you did of Dead Space, so I've obviously seen all of it. Thus far, very few moments are more entertaining than you getting surrounded in Dead Space with a pulse rifle and just going, ah!
It's like my inner Hudson from Aliens just takes over. I'm just like, you want some of this? You like this? You like this? You like this? Come on.
I don't think you used the primary fire in the entire first stream.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's it's hard because I've only got 3 of them. I don't think I can really answer it. But from the 3, I would say probably the plasma cutter. The main, yeah, the OP game, the OP gun.
Oh, you can make that thing OP. There's a reason there's an achievement for finishing the entire game with just the plasma cutter.
It's an OP game. It's an OP gun, man. It
You
really
can make
is.
that gun like so OP. I did
If
that
you
run.
unlock all the abilities for not all of it, if you're just power, super it right up, full clip, full power, everything, you just like boom, 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 and it is so good. It's so
Absolutely.
satisfying how you just to kill instead of just blast them, you have to dismember them to kill them basically, and it's so satisfying. I've died some pretty stupid ways by my own fault. I've died a few times.
Just save it for the Twitch highlights.
Yeah, save it for the Twitch highlights, which I'm guess going to come out what next week, is it?
Well, no, the ones for February will come out this week.
So it'll be mid-April.
Yours is a mid-April one. Yeah.
Yeah, so check out April. I will probably review them. Looked at it myself, but yeah, it's
Moody,
fun.
Because Moody works here, he gets early access to all the highlights videos.
Oh, I don't get paid, so I have to get something.
You've already seen February's.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun as well. So, it's on EA Play. If you've got EA Play, and heck, even Game Pass, it's there. All of them are there. Go and give them a go. They are some of the best horror games out there, just for atmosphere alone. So, give it a go. Give it some sexy time. I remember this is how hyped I was for Dead Space 3. I remember the trailer they were showing advert for online all the time. It was the song from Phil Collins. I was thinking it's the most randomest song for a horror game, but it's just like you got Isaac walking through the snow, and he's just like, and he just looks at you and just ready. I was like, all right.
Dun, 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 dun.
How crazy is this? Dead Space 3 dropped the same time as Alien Colonial Marines.
Oh wow. Double disappointment.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe that's why I was so mad at Dead Space 3.
Because you're pissed off at Alien.
Because Aliens pissed me off. Well, I had the same experience, but with the second one. Because when I finally got around to playing the first one, it was right. Because the second one must have come out in like the January, February of the year.
Yeah.
So obviously, I played the first one in like January time, and I remember I just finished it. I walked to the shop at the end of my street, and there's like a main road, and I was stood outside the shop finishing a tab, and a bus drove past. I remember this vividly. A bus drove past with a massive advert for Dead Space 2 on it, like it was taunting me. Like, you thought you had finished? Back for round 2, and then I played round 2, and you have to do that bit where it's like the velociraptors like circling you, and it's just like you fucking and there's like necromorphs running past, and I was like, ah, ah!
Yeah,
and you've got all that to look forward to.
Yeah. Well, thankfully, I'll say I think I've already said I've played all these games before, but this is the second time I'm going through it, and it's like it's so creepy and eerie. It's disgustingly awesome, and like I'll say it, yeah, you suck, man, for just crippling this developer, shutting them down. You could have just had them creating horror games, different new IP horror games all the time for you, and they would have been to average to good, always at least minimally good to great. And you slapped us and them in the face.
You did
with all your loot box money.
No, that weren't. Yeah, cool. You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Cool. So I played more Bravely Default 2 this week. Just gone.
Shout out to Scott Stedman. Because he's listened to our thing and he's so excited to play this game now.
Oh yeah, I saw the Twitter thread you were replying to each other. And that's cool. Like, it's always fun. Like, one of the coolest things when you do a podcast like this, where it's just like, here's what I think of all these games. And I guess it was the same when I was making reviews and whatever, impressions and stuff. But, like, it's always great when someone goes, you've convinced me, I'm going to pick this game up. Or, yeah, like, I picked this game up because you said it was good and I loved it. or I'm excited about this game, and like, oh, listen, you know, all that kind of stuff. It's just like, oh, that's great. Like, there's just no, there's a few better feelings in the world.
Warms our little hearts.
It does. So I played a shit ton more of this game.
You did.
I did.
You
I'm
told
on
me
a,
that.
I'm on the verge of the last chapter, and yeah, like still unlocking new jobs, finding cool new combinations, like figuring out like, ooh, if I get that ability and put and unlocked on this character, like remember I was saying like the monk is overpowered.
Mhm.
I've made it worse.
Ow.
There's an ability you can get. So like I was talking about pressure point where it's like it doesn't cost any MP, it doesn't cost any health, it's 1 BP. So you just save up an extra BP and then you use it to do this ridiculously powerful attack. So I unlocked it. I unlocked a new job where it's like it's got this ability where it's like you save 1 BP on using attacks from sub jobs. So I was grinding for about half an hour because I find a pretty decent grinding spot for JP. And then now it's free. So now this pressure point ability doesn't cost me anything.
Oh, Amy, what have you done?
So now it's just like cool.
So what? Every character just a monk now, just killing everyone.
No.
That'd be an interesting.
To be fair
that'd
though,
be
like again, I've unlocked like Red Mage on Elvis, who I've kept as a black mage, just doing all of the elemental attacks, and then like the Red Mage has all of the other elements, so stone and wind. But when you it turns out, and then I kind of didn't realize this until I'd done it because I wasn't paying that much attention. When you max out Red Mage, the second speciality in Red Mage is whatever spell you cast gets cast a second time for free. So like, so Elvis would be like, I'd be like, Elvis, do fire, and he would go badoosh, and then he would go badoosh again. So I was like, cool. If I just default, so he's got 3 BP, and then I do 4 attacks at once, and then he does 8. He does the spell 8 times.
That's not OP at all.
Some of the later bosses have a lot of counters, which can really fuck you up if you unleash 8 attacks on them. And they counter like 8 times. It's like, oh no. What have I done?
This is the moment. Amy knew. She fucked up.
But yeah, no, it's like all that shit's still really good. Like the classes get more and more interesting the further down the line you go. Like, but here's the thing, and I'm still not going to put it on a par with like great JRPGs, but the story gets better as well. The further in you go. So like the one thing where I was like, the story's a bit meh and a bit generic. Chapter 2 and Chapter 3 do some really cool stuff. The gloves come off a bit as well. In terms of like the stories that you're like experiencing, because like each chapter is kind of like there's the overarching story of we need to find the crystals that are fucking up the world, and we have to stop the overall evil of the world. But like each chapter you go to a new place, and there's like a self-contained story in that place, usually related to one of the party members. And yeah, chapter 2 is Elvis's story, and chapter 3 is Adele's story, who were already like my 2 favorite characters like in the party. And it goes some places, and chapter 3 especially, like there's some moments where I was just like, oh, I legitimately did not see that coming. Like in both wow, that's awesome, and wow, that's really grim. Like, did that just happen? Like, whoa, hang on. This ain't your mama's JRPG. Fuck. People die. It's a thing. It's cool. It's great. I'm looking forward to seeing how it ends now. Because it's like, well, where are they going to go in chapter 4?
Where are they going to go in Bravely Default 3?
Yeah, well, I think these are
all new
self-contained, aren't they? Like Final Fantasy games, yeah.
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
But But yeah, it's just like, all right, cool. Like, I'm in for the long haul. Like, I mean, I already was because I was enjoying the gameplay, but now it's like, oh, I'm in for the characters. I want to see what happens to the characters now. This is cool.
In that thing, you always like doing it. You already got great gameplay. Now, wait, now I'm liking the characters. What's
Wait,
going on here? I'm
now
enjoying this game.
now I'm invested in the events that are happening.
Yeah.
Shit. Oh no. But like
Give it a year, man. Give it a year.
on top of like the games themselves, on top of like talking about the game itself, like, and this kind of coincides with I had a small conversation with like a Twitch streamer slash influencer that I follow on Twitter, who was talking about like burnout and like trying to play too many games, and now she's specifically plays less games but like more. So like actually sitting down and taking time with a game and playing it all the way through and stuff like that, and like finding that more enjoyable but also like better for your mental health. And I was like, oh, that's yeah, I
Yeah. Yeah.
know
I
all
see what
about
she's
that.
doing.
Yeah, I know all about that. That's something I've very badly struggled with in the past and gotten better at in the past couple of years. But I was also like, yeah, like I've in 2021 especially, like I've taken time with certain games, like Hitman 3 for example, where it's like in ye olden days, like say a few years ago, if Hitman 3 had come out, I would have rushed through all the levels once, finished the game, and then been like, cool, what's next? On to the next thing while I make this video about Hitman 3. Whereas this time I played it and I was like, I want to do some of the levels again and try out some of the different things, and I just did. And then with like Bravely Default 2, it's just like I did the podcast last week about it. There's no reason for me to play more because
Yeah.
I've done the content that I wanted to do, but it's just like I enjoy the game, so I'm gonna play more of it. And I played Loop Hero for a bit, and I want to play more of that because I'm really into Loop Hero as well. And it's just like, yeah, I think this year I'm gonna spend more time playing less games.
We played over 100 last year, so
Uh, I mean, I still want to try a bunch of games. Like, there's never going to be, unless there's no new games coming out, which happens sometimes in certain weeks. Like, I still want to be like, I still want to try a new game and talk about it on the podcast. Like, but like, I'm not going to be like, I'm going to be quality over quantity, if that makes sense, is what I want to be like, because I'm just having more fun playing Bravely Default 2 all the way through. And then once I've done that, I'm like, cool, I want to beat Loop Hero, and I've got Persona 5 Strikers to go back to play as well. And it's just like, I used to like, and I still do, there's still that voice in the back of my head that says all this stuff, but I used to think like it was a numbers game. Like, the more games I played, like, the better my content would be. Oh, you know what I mean? Or like, the more valid my content will be.
yeah, I understand you.
Like, it's still fun to keep count and be like, I've finished X amount of games and played this amount of games and whatever. But yeah, it's just like playing games for the sake of pumping the numbers up because they're rookie numbers. It's like, you know what? Rookie numbers are fine. Like,
Rookie numbers are brilliant.
rookie numbers are fine. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to devote a lot of time this week to playing Bravely Default 2 again. And finishing it, hopefully, this week. Like you're saying, you hopefully finish Dead Space. Yeah. And like,
Well, I like.
Go on. No, you're right.
No, I was gonna say, like, I've enjoyed so much what I've played so far of Bravely Default that, like, you and me, like, we've always said we rent the games, but if we want to, there's an option for us to buy it at the same time. Yeah. I'm tempted just to buy the game.
That's fair.
And then just have it, and then I can just take my time going backwards and forwards with it and everything, and not rushing it. And like, I agree with what you're saying there. Just like what the influencer you were talking about and everything was saying, I think it's spot on. Like, I'm seeing so many influencers, Twitch streamers, YouTubers that are trying to throw out as much content as they can, play the game right through. Like, many a times I've seen people smash through a quote unquote grindy game like Games of a Service game or like Avengers or like Outriders, what's going to be coming out shortly. Like people have smashed the demo multiple the times just so they can grind a character up to the maximum thing, so for them to be ready for when it comes out in April, and then they're going to grind it. Within a week, they're going to be moved on from it, and I'm just like, that's not how you play a game.
Yeah, it's
I
like
understand.
no, you.
I was going to say I understand the argument where they come from. I got to keep up with the it thing, but to a certain point, I understand it. But I'm just like, where's the enjoyment? And I feel like you're not getting the enjoyment. You're rushing through it like crazy just so you can keep up with certain things. You don't need to keep up with trends. You don't need to keep up with where everyone else is going with it. If you've got a loyal audience, they will stick with you and enjoy your content, whatever you're playing. And that's what I think you need. That's what I think every influencer personally needs to look inside themselves and just say, I'm ruining my life probably personally in general. I need to slow down and just enjoy games. They're meant to be there for fun. Yes, we would like this to be a job, like I'm hopefully becoming a developer. You write about them, talk about them like we do now and everything like that, but I don't consider this a job. I consider this a talk with one of my friends
Yeah.
like you and everything. And I play games because I want to play. Like I haven't streamed. I've streamed not because it's the thing to do or to be it. I've streamed because I want to play Dead Space, and me and Amy have talked about streaming together in some sort of element, and we're doing it, and I've had fun.
Yeah, it was. This
And even
wasn't
if
a whim. That wasn't a whim. That was
yeah,
like months we were talking about it.
yeah, possibly doing it, and I've done it not because I want to become a streamer, because I don't. I'll say this right now: I'm not a professional one. I'm doing it just to have fun, and I
Yeah.
have a lot of fun, and that's how it is. If you take the enjoyment out of something that is meant to be made, that is made to be enjoyed, you're ruining it.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like I was told we talked about this very recently on a podcast where it was like it's the joy of creating the thing that I like enjoy. I really enjoyed making the Bloodborne video and the Infectious Madness of Dr. Decker video. Like regardless of whether they get no views or millions of views, whatever, I didn't really care. I was just like, I played a game, I enjoyed a game, I wrote about it. Every stage from I'm gonna play Bloodborne to here's a 70-minute video about Bloodborne. Like I enjoyed, like the whole thing, the joy of creation. But yeah, it's just like I kind of just do want to just slow down and play things that I want to play, while still like I said, like I'll always make sure there's at least one new game that I've tried, but don't expect me to like drop everything to sink 100 hours into Outriders as soon as it comes out so that I can be at the cutting edge of I'll play it, and if I enjoy it, I'll play a lot of it. And if I don't, I'll play enough of it to form an opinion, to give my impressions, and then I'll move on. But like I'm playing it because I want to play it. I played the demo and I enjoyed it and I want to play it. Like some weeks there's like shitloads of games coming out that I'm interested in, and I'll just pick and choose which ones I want to do, and I'll come back to ones that I might want to try later on, whatever. Like the point is, like I'm not going to be like coming at you with like 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 games a week anymore and being like, I played all of these games, and here's my thoughts on all of them. It'll be like, I played these 2.
Yeah, I think that would be a great thing for you personally.
And also I'm playing Persona 5 Strikers. Like I finished that, and I want to talk about that. Like whatever. These are all hypotheticals. Yeah. Like I've still got from last year 2 games I never finished, which because I've been trying to figure out what to do with streaming. Because obviously you've got your thing. You're playing Dead Space, and then I imagine you're going to play Dead Space 2.
Yes, I've already confirmed it. I don't think. I would love to play 3, but I would want to do a co-op, and I don't want to force you to do something.
No. Well, Fox has said he wanted to play it while we were playing the first one. So I was like, well, why don't you 2 play Dead Space 3?
I played for a game with Foxes for a while.
And then there's multiplayer games, right? So like we stream Among Us every Saturday because that's when our group plays Among Us. And sometimes we'll dabble in Phasmophobia, Fall Guys. I know I want to stream Ultimate Chicken Horse. at least once because when we both tried that, that was great.
We need to get Keith and Russell on. For
Yeah,
that. I
but
think that's what.
like beyond that, I was like, what do I play? And it's like I tried Fights in Tight Spaces, and it was a fun stream. But it was like, is it like I was thinking, am I just going to do like first impression streams? And I was like, I don't really want to do first impression streams. Maybe I'll stream Control because that's the game I'm doing a retrospective on next. And I was like, it's going to take me too long to stream all the way through that game. Like, when I sit down to play an older game like that, where I'm like, I'm going to make a video about this, I generally tend to smash it. Like, I'll identify a time where I could be like, I'm going to play the shit out of this. Like Christmas with Bloodborne, I want to play the shit out of it. And, like, there's no way I could have twice.
Twice, yeah.
There's no way I could have streamed that because I was playing it constantly for a while. But I also play games very haphazardly, where I take breaks regularly. But I was thinking, you know what? I've got 2 games, Yakuza Like a Dragon and 13 Sentinels, and I didn't finish either of them. I played a decent chunk of both because they were both in my top 10 games of 2020. I enjoyed the shit out of them. It's like I'm just gonna pick one, probably Yakuza, because I've got that on rent. I've had that on rent since November. Moody,
you've still got it.
I've still got it. I might just like restart that game and that'll just be my streaming game when I'm not playing a multiplayer game. I'll just be like, I'm gonna play Yakuza, and then when I finish that, I'll play 13 Sentinels, and I'll just do what you do. It's just like I fancy playing a game, I'll play it.
Yeah,
but I've got to also navigate like. Okay, I don't want to ruin any future retrospectives. So I'm like navigating this sort of like, but yeah, that's what I want to do is streaming. And that's kind of how I want to approach games. Like, I'll always, like, the reason this YouTube channel started is because I was like, I want to talk about new games. And that's why this podcast started.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'll always play new games and try bunches of games. Because the only way you'll be surprised is if you try a bunch of different stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
Like Loop Hero. Didn't know what it was, tried it. Very pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. This is how interesting Loop Hero was for me, ladies and gentlemen. I had no idea what this game was. I saw 2 things. Critics really liked it. Audience really liked it, even though I don't really go off the audience score that much because that can be very, very problematic. But also, overall, it was I heard nothing but great things about it. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to take a whim on this. It's a tenner. Why not? Boom.
And I thank you for that.
But I know I intend to give it a go though, at the same time. That's just how it is sometimes. It's like, there's a reason these are getting some love. They deserve to have a look at. And I thought, why not? No, give it a go, David. Give it a go. I haven't had a go of it yet, but I intend to.
Yeah.
And like that's what I think is really fun. Like I'm playing Dead Space right now, loving it. Soon, coming up in May, both of us are going to be playing 2 new games that are coming out that month. I'm playing 3. It's going to take a while to get through some of them. But yeah.
Like, there will still be... Yeah, so, like... I guess what we're talking about is sort of like a minor change to how this podcast works, where it's just like... The front end will still be, here's the new games. These are the new releases that we've played. We're going to talk about them. The back half will be up to Chapter 3. 40 hours into Bravely Default 2. And you being, I've played Dead Space. And that's what we're going to do. Like, next week, maybe you'll be like, I played Loop Hero. Because you played Loop Hero. Yeah. And, yeah, I want to do those as well. Yeah. And then, like, I feel like we'll make better content if we're, like, and this is mostly me, I feel like I'll make better content if I'm playing games I'm enjoying. Like, and I'm passionate about. And I'll still find duds. We'll still have episodes. Yeah. We'll still have episodes like the Remothered Broken Porcelain episode. That's gonna happen.
No doubt. We both will play Resident Evil Village, and we both be like,
"But yeah,
what did they do? What did they do? Yes, there's an 8-foot sexy woman, 9-foot whatever size woman in the game, and it was a pleasure getting killed by her a few times, but the game is broken."
It's not.
Type of thing.
But there's what I think we'll do is we'll coordinate a lot better as well with the new releases. Yeah. So like, we're both gonna play a Village, or maybe like, there's a lot of games coming out this week. All right, we'll separate them into tasks.
We're both. I believe we're both doing Monster Hunter World.
Probably.
Yeah. I've got that down to rent.
I need to pee.
Out at the end of the month.
Very, very.
So
badly.
Let's wrap up, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's wrap up. But yeah, no, there's a fun. Yeah, future planning, we can leave till after the podcast. That's going to do it for episode 22 of the weekly review. Say bye, Moody.
Bye,
I'm
everybody.
going to get the fuck out of here. Bye.
Where did we go?